Hello, all you scaredy cats and kittens, and welcome to the Two Scaredy Cats podcast, where we talk about all things strange, unusual, and paranormal. We're your hostess with the mostest. I'm Stacy.
And I'm Kara.
So, Kara, let's see. Oh, we actually were together last week for a couple days. Oh, yeah, last week, and we went to a mall because it was raining like both days that I was up there. But we happened to go to this really cool park.
Yeah.
And what was the name of the park again, Kara? Do you remember?
Quarry Trails Metro Park, I believe.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, this was like a brand new park that just opened up in Columbus. If you live in Columbus or if you're visiting the area, you should really go check it out. But while we were in the park there, we came across an old cemetery, didn't we, Kara?
Yeah, it was very spooky.
It was very spooky, yes, because when you entered it, it was like a really old cemetery. Like most of the graves are from the 1800s and that, like the early 1800s. And it wasn't a very big one, so I'm guessing it was probably like a home, like a family plot. But the further you go, and it wasn't very deep, but once we got to the, like, I guess the back edge of it, there was this huge like mound of dirt, and we started getting vibes of like from the movie, the Stephen King movie, Pet Sematary.
Well, it had a bunch of branches, because that's what it was in the movie. Not dirt.
There was like a berm there, like there was like a
bunch
mound.
Of
yeah, but
sticks.
There were branches too. Yes, and there was like this big pile of sticks also there, in where we were, and it was like really creepy, and we were getting Pet Sematary vibes, and it was really neat. You should go check it out if you have the opportunity. It's a bit of a hike though from where you park. If you park, there was like two parking spots. Yeah. One was like on the, I don't know, what would you describe it, like the north end of the park or the front end of the park?
No, that was the first one was the south.
Okay,
part.
So the
south
north
part was the place that was closer to the cemetery.
Okay, so then we parked at the south part of the park and we had to walk, but it was a nice walk. There was like a lake that you got to walk over top of. They had these moving like a moving trail on there, like a bridge or a boat dock ramp thing, whatever. So we got to cross over that. They had turtles that we got to see. We saw some turtles while we were out there. That was cool. And then it like hooked up with some more trails. And then Kara, being the nutburger that she is, it was an old quarry, basically, is what this used to be. And on the back side of it, on the north side, there was this old abandoned quarry lake there that had happened after they had been digging all the stuff out of it. And so Kara wanted to go get a better look at it in case she wanted to do some photo shoots there with some clients. And she climbed down what was a sledding hill. So if you can imagine, it is a very steep hill. And Kara's like, I'm going down. I'm like, okay. I was not, because I'm older and my bones are getting more brittle. And I did not there was no way I was coming up that hill without being in a wheelchair or passed out. So she goes down, and she's down there for a while, which was fine. And she's taking photos and that so people can see what it looked like. And it was neat. I would have liked to have gone down there, but not the way she went. So she comes back up this ginormous hill, and it's like at a very steep angle. And luckily there was like a rope on the side, I guess, so when the people are using their sleds and stuff.
Like snowy, though, is my thing.
That's what I'm thinking too. And I don't understand how these little kids could even do it, because if the snow was deep and you're climbing at a very steep angle, you're going to have a very hard time with your footing. But anyway, they had like a rope rail there that you could, like, I guess, pull yourself up with. So Kara was walking up this giant hill, and she was hyperventilating on the way up, and she was like having to pull on the... It was very steep. I give her that. So she's allowed to hyperventilate. But it was so funny to see her come up. Going down was easy.
Well, yeah. It was. You still had to be careful, though, because it was a little muddy. Because it was raining a little bit before.
Yeah. We probably shouldn't have been going down it when we did.
It was
but
not that
she
bad.
was okay.
It was
Had
dry.
It
well,
anymore,
yeah, if
though,
it was still raining. Because it was supposed to be raining all day.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
It just rained a little bit and then stopped. And then it rained a lot
So
later.
it was the best time to go. Yeah, because we basically got out of there before the rain just.
Well, yeah, we got out of the car
to
get back to our apartment, and it literally started pouring after. It was crazy.
Yep. So we were happy we made it back before, or didn't get stuck out there in that, because some of the trails, just so you know, also, this is not a full paved trail. Like, once you the part that's like down by, there's like a waterfall there, and some children's stuff you can do. That is all paved. But once you get on like the ramp bridge thing that takes you across the water there, it's all gravel, which make sure you have very good shoes on. Kara did not have good shoes on, which I can't believe. She went down the hill. She had a pair of like Croc slide sandals on, and she went down the hill with, and I'm thinking, oh my God, she's never coming back up.
It was fine. You're being a little dramatic.
I know, I'm very overly dramatic, but still. Anyway, just if you do go there, make sure you have like gym shoes or like some hiking boots, because it's very gravelly, and your legs will slip. And some of it was like a little bit, I wouldn't say steep, but it's very hilly there. So just keep that in mind too if you're going. But other than that, it was neat. We didn't get to explore all of it because it looked like it was going to start raining, and the trail that we had gone on to see the cemetery and like where she climbed down the hill and all that was, a good, I would say, 45 minutes, an hour maybe, Kara? Yeah. Something like that. So we didn't get to explore all of it, so we're definitely going back, but it's really cool. So if you have time and you're out that way, check it out. It's a brand new park.
They have a mountain climbing section. That's what was down there at the bottom.
Yeah, that was really cool. They actually have where you can scale up the side of this like rock formation that they had there, and you can have your gear and just climb on your own. Now, I think I don't think it was open right now because of the time of year.
I bet in the summer it'll be open.
And this summer it'll be open, which is really cool. And you're like climbing over top of this lake, so that's even cooler. Spooky. Not a lot of times you get to do that. But anyway.
But it's like a sheer cliff face. Like, it was like a straight down.
Yeah.
Like straight. It wasn't like, how sometimes cliffs will be like a little rocky. It was just like straight. It was so weird to see how like straight it was.
It actually looks like the climbing walls you see at some of the climbing parks on that. It was like basically like that. It was very, like she said, it would look like somebody had like sandblasted it.
I mean, it's probably what happened.
It was just like
it was
a straight
used to be a quarry, but
right. And it was just like a straight edge.
But it looks like completely different than like the environment normally in Ohio. Like, it was so weird. Like, it just looked like we were in like Utah or somewhere like very mountainous.
Yeah, or down in Kentucky and where the Natural Bridge and all that is. It looks like that, basically, yeah. So anyway, that was what we did last week. So that was pretty fun. And then we went to a mall the next day because it was raining. It was a really nice mall, by the way, if anybody ever wants to go. It's called the Polaris Mall. It was like a very upscale mall. They had lots of neat things there. There's a trampoline park inside the mall, which I've never seen before, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was
so weird. You can, go drop your kids off at the trampoline park and go walk around the mall. But yeah, so that's what we did last week. So anyway, I guess we're going to go ahead and get started today. So today, because St. Patrick's Day is coming up on Sunday, we thought it would be cool and interesting if we did ours is all themed to creatures and cryptids that you can find in Ireland. So I guess I'll go ahead and get started for us today. So I am doing mine on a shape-shifting creature called the Puca. Now the Puca, as I said, is a shape-shifting creature, and it has no fixed form, and it can take on various animal shapes, including dog, eagle, rabbit, donkey, horse, or goat. And the last two, the horse and the goat, are the shapes that most people will see this creature as. Now, it is said that both the boogeyman and the Easter bunny are incarnations of the Puca. Interestingly enough, I did not know that. The Puca often appears as a horse, and sometimes when it takes the horse form, it will gallop across the countryside, knocking down fences and gates, and it will destroy crops when it does this too. So he is not a creature that you want to trifle with. He is also known to take on more terrifying shapes like a horned hound, a goat-headed human, or other hideous hybrids. Whatever he can come up with on his own. Yeah, he's kind of scary, apparently. Now, there is still a tradition of a Puca fair in Ireland where a wild goat is made king for 3 days. And he stays in the town center. They put a crown on this thing and sit him in the center of town. And I guess it's their like way of paying homage to the Puca. And then what happens is at the end of the 3rd day, I think they kill the goat and then they eat it. So it's kind of barbaric, but they still do it. But I guess when it's a tradition, I guess that's what, they like to do. So that is something, that happens over there. So pucas are akin to what we would call fairies. And these are dark, malevolent beings, the pucas are. And they are also considered to be much closer to vampires, werewolves, and goblins than they are to the cute Tinkerbell fairies that we all know and love from, Disney movies and that. Or the more idealized fairies from Victorian times. They're not cute little fairies that, fly around and sprinkle pixie dust on you. It's said that it is also tradition for people to leave food out for the fairies on Halloween. Not doing this would anger the fairies, and especially the Puca, and this would lead to the Puca ruining your crops. So if you live in Ireland, you definitely need to make sure you leave some food out for the fairies and the Puca.
Yeah.
So apparently there was only one person in all of history that has been known to have conquered a Puca. And this was the legendary High King of Ireland, Brian Boru. And he was around from 904 to 1014 AD. Now, he managed to do this by making a rein from the hair of the Puca. So basically he braided it and made it a rein, because remember we talked about how Pucas, one of their main shapes that they take is a horse shape. That's like what most people see it as. And so he braided this rein from it and started to ride the Puca. And he rode the Puca to the point of exhaustion. Like he took this thing out all night long, and it got so exhausted that the fairy ended up bowing down to the king. And that is the only time that a Puca had been conquered. So whatever shape the Puca appears, and it always has a dark, shadowy skin and fiery eyes. People say that the eye color of the Puca is either like a really fiery red or a golden gold. So if you see, a creature with these color eyes, I suggest you run and go the other way and don't make contact with it. It is said its haunting grounds are lonely country roads, fields, and mountain passes at nighttime. The home of the Puca is said to be beneath deep lakes that are all over Ireland. I guess it lives down there in like a cave or whatever, and then when it's ready to cause havoc in the world or decides it wants to mess with somebody, it'll go out and do its mischievous deeds. So one of the Puca's most favorite tricks is to take on the form of a black horse with golden glowing eyes, as I talked about in the story of the High King of Ireland. And then he will trick lonely travelers who are, out there by themselves on the road into riding it. And then he will take them on a wild and crazy ride all night long. Sometimes with them end up getting thrown into a body of water and dying. Now, there are other stories, though, that a lot of times the Puca will become this horse with the golden glow in the eyes, and it will pick up drunk people that are, had a little too much fun one night and are out roaming the roads late at night drunk. And because they're in the drunken state, they said that the Puca has this power where it can make them forget what's going on and make them even more tired and docile. So they'll just ride on the back of this Puca for like all night long until they'll wake up in the morning and they don't remember what happened. And so that's one of the other things that it likes to do. So interestingly, the word Puca in Irish, it means a ghost. Puck is also another word for goblin. And Puck is Irish for a male goat. So Puca, I guess, is kind of like a little bit of all these words kind of mixed together. So, it's like this ghost-like goblin male goat creature thing that, roams around at night and stuff. There's also, this is pretty cool. We're going to have to go see if we can ever check this out sometime, Kara. There is a Puca festival that is held yearly around Halloween time in Trim, County Meath, okay, in Ireland. And this is where the shapeshifter is celebrated and not feared. And this is like a big deal. It's like a really huge festival that people like to go to. There are several recent stories of Puca sightings. One of them involves a group of people. They were driving through the northern Irish countryside one night at night when one of them happened to look out the window and noticed something strange in a field. The witness described this creature as a tall humanoid entity, but he said it had a goat head and it had burning red eyes when it stared at him. So the beast started following along with the car and was keeping pace with the car while they were driving. They said that it followed them for a while and then it ended up vanishing into the woods. So that's one story. There was another story of a boy that was on the way home from his aunt's house, and he was traveling in the woods, okay? And apparently his aunt lives really far out in the country, and she had a very long driveway. And as the boy was going up the driveway, it's noticed a humanoid creature on, like, right on the edge of where the woods and where the driveway were. And he said it had the glowing eyes and it looked like a goat. So, of course, you know, he was a young child. He freaked out and started running. And the Puca chased him for a few minutes, but it, you know, wasn't looking that night to mess with the little kids. So then it went on to the other side of the road. But it's interesting that a lot of people, when they describe this Puca, they talk about when they see it, that it's like a humanoid type entity, but then it's like a little bit different than a human. Like it'll have an animal face on it and glowing eyes. Glowing eyes are another thing. So if you're ever out after sunset in Ireland and it's, you know, the sun setting and it's finally, you know, just gets to where it's dark and it's silent enough that you can hear your heartbeat, you should be very wary of going outside, because that cute little fox that might be sitting on the side of the woods there could be a Puca. So just be on the watch for the Pucas. Make sure they don't come after you. Name. I know, I like that name. It kind of rolls off your mouth. Puca. But anyway, that's all I have. Oh, but there was a couple of, when I was reading about it, there are a couple movies out there that have a creature in it that is very similar to the Puca, that a lot of people are saying is, you know, like a form of the Puca. One of them is the film Danny Darko. Oh, I don't know if I've heard of that. You know what I'm talking about with the, yeah, there's like this, it's this guy and he keeps dreaming up this imaginary scary rabbit that like goes around killing people and or gets him to kill people and stuff. And only he can see it. Nobody else can. But in the movie, we can see it. And, so that they say that bunny is based off of
that's crazy.
Right. Well, I told you before that the Easter bunny is considered a form of the Puca in Ireland. Yeah. So I guess I can see why they're talking about it taking on the form of a bunny. And do you remember Payne's Labyrinth? We watched that when you were little. Do you remember that? Okay. Apparently the character Payne, like the main character of the movie, that is actually based off a Puca.
Wait, the main girl?
Which is,
or are you talking about something else?
No. I'm talking about the not the little girl, the creature. Remember the creature that was like in the labyrinth?
The, like, weird creature. I thought it was like
yes.
I thought it was like a satyr.
Yes, but do you remember I just told you
I know.
takes on he looks like a goat. Yeah, so that's what they were saying.
That makes sense because satyrs are part goat.
Right. Yeah. So that's just what people were saying. There are also a couple of Irish movies. I think one of them.
Does that mean Hercules? Danny DeVito, the guy.
What?
I'm talking about the Hercules movie. There's like a satyr in it. I'm making a joke.
Oh, the little cartoon Hercules. I'm like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? Now I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Hercules.
Well, I can't remember his name. The Danny DeVito character.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, I guess basically he is kind of a Puca.
Phil. I think that was
Phil. Yeah.
I was just making a joke.
I know, but it's okay. But anyway, yeah. So that's, the story of the Puca.
Such a weird name.
If you're in Ireland, you don't want to be near the Puca. So anyway. So what have you got for us this week, Kara?
We're going to be talking about werewolves in Ireland because they're...
Okay. I didn't know they had werewolves
I know.
in
This is a pretty wild story because it's
Okay.
very different than how normal werewolf stories are handled in other like cultures. Unlike traditional werewolf tales, Ireland portrays werewolves in a different light. They're seen less as a monster and more of a guardian, and they're known to be recruited by the king in times of war. What? Yes, that's why I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
That is weird. I've never heard of that.
So the werewolves were said to be descendants of a legendary figure named Legnick Phelan, whose line gave rise to the kings of Ossory. I probably messed it up, but Ossory, which is like an actual like kingdom that had kings, and it was so. If we're gonna look at it, it's likely that they're comparing the like warriors' prowess to wolves and not actually being wolves, but the stories are interesting still, regardless. Okay. So they as a culture kind of embraced this idea of being wolf-like. They would like describe things as wolf-like, and they adapted like lupin hairstyles, and they would wear wolf skins, and when they went wolfing is what they called it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Which that part stood out to me because of selkies, which is also originated in the same area.
Yep.
And selkies, as you know, they like put the fur on them and they can transform.
Right, into they're shape-shifting. Yes. Yeah, they transform.
So I thought that was interesting that they would also use like wolf pelts to allegedly.
That is interesting, yeah.
So this might be interesting to you, but where the wolves are actually extinct in Ireland, but they weren't originally. Huh. They were very prevalent at the time, which is why there were so many like werewolf stories.
Wait a minute. There's no wolves whatsoever in Ireland, just now. Like there's no snakes. Really?
They were extinct. I think the last like sighting of one was like in the 1700s, 1786 or something.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And so there was a dog breed that was bred specifically to deal with the wolf issue. Because, you know, Ireland...
The Irish Wolfhound, right?
Yes, the Irish Wolfhound was bred specifically to help deal with and hunt the wolves.
Oh, and that's a very huge dog, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, I was looking at photos. They're like very tall. Yeah.
Big boys.
Yeah, they look like they could be part wolf.
Yeah, they got curly hair, though, which I thought was interesting. So I'm curious what else they were kind of bred with. So one of the prominent works that would depict the legendary wolf warrior was in Cor Anman, which was translated to like fitness of names. He was a man that used to go wolfing into wolf shapes. Into shapes of wolves he used to go, and his offspring used to go after him, and they used to kill the herds after the fashion of wolves. So that it is for that he used to be called Legnick Phelan, for he was the first of them who went to a wolf shape. This was the legendary warrior that they all talked about.
Right.
He was the first mention of werewolves in Ireland, and he was the one who could turn others into one, according to their lore. So how it worked,
that's interesting.
That they would describe, that they could transform into these wolves, but by doing so, they would leave behind their human body. So instead of like, normally they would transform into the wolf, their human body stayed, and then the wolf would like be, I'm not really sure, it didn't really describe how the wolf came to be, but they would have this wolf form as well. It was kind of like, you know how like Fae would always, there's like a lot of Fae stories about how they would leave their body and do something else, but then their body would stay.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is their
it was kind of like
body would
projection.
Stay and their spirit would leave, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, got you. So like dream walking or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, it's very similar to that. And if they were injured while out, the human body would be injured. So like if they were, as a wolf form, if they would sustain injuries, they would be, injured as well. And
so if they died in the spirit form, would they die then in human form? Okay.
The prey that they would catch would also appear in their mouth as a human. Is that
what?
wild?
Dude, that's weird. Okay, that's crazy.
I told you these stories. I've never heard anything like this described.
No, that is weird.
they were vulnerable in the state, like we talked about, and it was recommended by family and friends to not move them where they're in the state. So that was one of the depictions. There's a few different like depictions of how they would act. This is one of the more popular ones. And then, of course, as we know, St. Patrick and all that. There's actually a story about St. Patrick and the wolves. So it was told that when the Holy Patricus, St. Patrick, preached Christianity in this country, there was one clan which opposed him more stubbornly than any other people in the land. And these people strove to do insult in many ways, both to God and to holy men. And when he was preaching the faith to them as to others and come to confer with them, where they held their assemblies, they adapted the plan of howling at him like wolves. So that was interesting.
That's weird. Yeah.
And then allegedly, I'm saying allegedly because, St. Patrick prayed to God to punish them. And this led to them suffering a punishment that members of the clan would change into wolves for a time and roam the woods just as wolves would and eat the same as them. But they were worse because they had the intelligence of a human. So I'm like, what? And this version of the legend states that they weren't always transformed and they could take the form of the wolf every 7th winter. Which I thought was interesting.
So every 7 years they were allowed.
Yes. Or so you either did that, or for 7 total years you were just a wolf forever. But then you would never. Sucks. And then after you turned back to human, that was it. You were good.
Huh. Okay. Weird.
Yeah. So that is what I discovered, which I think it's interesting that, St. Patrick, that there was some mention about it, because I don't remember learning about werewolves in the Bible.
I don't remember that. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember hearing about that in school.
Yeah, like when what? Little. Or that he prayed to God to punish them.
Right, and God turned them into wolves or whatever. Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. So now you know about werewolves in Ireland, because I didn't even know it was like.
Yeah,
so I would have.
Yeah, interesting.
Because normally they're like bad tales, like you turn into a wolf and you kill people, but these are more like,
right?
Yeah, you get turned into one, but you can hunt for your people or whatever.
Yeah, that's weird.
But that's what I have for us today. Definitely related to St. Patrick, or St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up.
Yeah. Interesting.
Now we know.
Yeah. Now
anything else you can think of? Or you have?
No, I think that's everything for today. I think it's enough with the Pucas and
the werewolves.
Werewolves of
Ireland.
Now
I didn't even know that wolves were extinct in Ireland either.
I did not know that either. I know snakes don't exist thanks to St. Patrick, but I did not.
I guess it makes sense because it's a lot of farmland so that they would have to deal with them a lot. Like
you wouldn't want them eating your sheep.
So they probably hunted them a lot because of how it would mess up their.
Yeah. I can see that messing up the herd and stuff. I get it.
I guess because they got rid of a lot of woods, their habitat. Because I was curious why they went extinct. It was mainly hunting, and they lost their woods.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of it
clearing land for
farmland.
like farmland. Yeah, I can see that. Huh. Well, interesting.
Yeah. Now you know.
Now we know.
If you enjoyed our podcast,
the more you know, the more you'll grow.
Yeah. Well, if you enjoyed our podcast today, follow us on Instagram at Two Scaredy Cats Podcast, and please be sure to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps the show get discovered. And tune in 2 weeks for a new episode. And to all our scaredy cats and kittens out there, remember, curiosity didn't kill these 2 scaredy cats.